I'm known for my chocolate chip cookies recipe. In fact, my first ever recipe inspired my entire cookbook. But I'm also always on the hunt for the next big cookie. Let's go make chocolate chip cookies 2.0. Oh, you saw correctly. We ditched the chips, we're melting them, and then we're dipping my soft and chewy cookie into them. Now it creates this hard crack, and there's just something so satisfying about the mouthfeel of your teeth crunching in to a hard chocolate shell. It kind of brings me back to Dairy Queen, which is one of my absolute obsessions, a chocolate dip shell, but we're making it in cookie form. So we're starting with 2 sticks of unsalted butter. Unsalted is the key here because we want to be able to control the amount of salt. Now let's say you only had salted butter. We're just going to skip the additional salt in this recipe. Then 1 cup of white sugar and 1 cup of brown sugar. And this is the base chocolate chip cookie recipe that I use in so many different variations. And it's what really inspired this whole desire to kind of take it up a notch and figure out other ways that we could have a soft, chewy cookie with also a little bit of textural snap. So we get the best of both worlds in this cookie. Cream it together until it's light and fluffy, minimum of 2 minutes. I want to stop this here so you guys can see exactly what light and fluffy creamed butter and sugar looks like. You can see that it's really holding its shape and it's actually lightened in color, and that's how you know it's the perfect consistency. But what is my #1 pet peeve? When it comes to stand mixers and creaming together butter and sugar, you gotta scrape the bottom of the bowl. So because the beater blade doesn't touch the very bottom of the bowl, you get this collection of butter and sugar that just hasn't mixed. And look, I just fished it out so I can show you guys. See right there? Not blended with the rest of the butter and sugar. And that's a problem because once we go to scoop our dough, once you get to the very bottom of the bowl, that cookie is going to spread like crazy. And we do not want cookies that are spreading. We want them to hold their shape. So I'm gonna give it a quick stir, and we're gonna mix one more time. Perfectly mixed, we're gonna add in 2 large eggs. And remember not to crack the eggs on the side of the bowl because it causes the egg to splinter more on the shell, which gives you a higher likelihood of getting shell in the bowl itself. Best bet, crack them in a separate bowl and then pour them in. I don't like doing dishes, so straight onto the countertop we go with the stand mixer going. 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And now it's time for the dry ingredients. So I like to lift up the beater like this, just again, so I can scrape down and get any parts that have not incorporated in with the butter and sugar and eggs. The key here is a cohesive, consistent batter so that every single one of our cookies turns out the exact same. In with our dry ingredients now. Yes, professional bakers will tell you, you should whisk together all of your dry ingredients in a separate bowl and then put it in. I've done it both ways. Honestly, it works like the way I'm doing it. So we're gonna add 3 cups of all-purpose flour. If you've heard me say it once, you've heard me say it 100 times. Aerate your flour. Aerate your flour. Leaveners, we're using a combination of baking powder and baking soda because we want these cookies to rise beautifully and be nice and tender. A 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, and then 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Big pinch of kosher salt, about a 1/2 teaspoon. And then let's mix it up. You're gonna notice a change in texture. It's gonna become crumbly and then it'll become cohesive and smooth. Looking fantastic. I'm gonna do 1 more scrape down of the sides and bottom of the bowl along with the beater blade here. So we have a nice cohesive dough. We want every cookie to be exactly the same. And this is just a classic chocolate chip cookie dough recipe. This is the exact point you would put the chocolate chips in, but we're skipping it. Skipping it, that's right. Skip the chips and instead do a dip. Okay, this dough looks amazing. So here's the thing that is so awesome about this recipe, other than like everything about it, because this has become my signature cookie recipe. I make it for every single occasion. I'm gonna show you guys in a minute. I made some for Valentine's Day, for Christmas, for Halloween, 4th of July, like you name it. I've got a really cool twist, but we wanna make sure that we're using an ice cream scoop so that all of the cookies are the same size. That way they bake at the same time. Now here's the fun thing. Classic size, great. We'll do that with the cookie scoop all day long. But this is way more fun. Minis, like makes the cutest, most adorable, dippable, sprinkle-worthy cookies on the planet. Look at that size. Roll it into a ball, and this makes sure that it has nice clean edges. We're gonna chill the dough for about 15 minutes in the fridge before popping them into a 350-degree oven. The dough is now chilled. I'm gonna pop them into a 350-degree oven for 12 to 15 minutes, just until the centers are set. If you're making a mini-size version, figure about half the time. My cookies are out of the oven. They have cooled completely on a cooling rack like this. Now we're gonna bring the chocolate back into our chocolate chipless cookies. So first, I just wanna show you the texture of this cookie. It's soft, it's chewy, perfectly round. Look at the bottoms, golden brown. This is the most perfect chocolate chipless cookie ever, but we're gonna make it even better. For our chocolate, you could use chocolate chips, chocolate chunks. I love a good chocolate melting wafer. Now the beauty of these melting wafers is they have a bit of coconut oil in them, and that is what allows that iconic snap once they dry hard. So I'm gonna add these to a bowl, melt them in the microwave just until they're smooth. All right, I'm back with our melted chocolate. So you can see now, this is the key to melting these chocolate wafers, or candy melts for that point. You can see that some of them are still whole. This is because the residual heat from the bowl is gonna help melt those wafers. If you were to keep going, you're gonna overcook the chocolate, and then it just gets really hard and brittle. So stop before all of the chocolate's actually melted, and then you will get perfectly smooth chocolate. Okay, now quick story. The first time I ever did chocolate chipless cookies, I ended up dipping a cookie into the bowl of chocolate, just like this. My hands are covered in chocolate, it's dripping off the sides, I'm trying to scrape it off the bowl. I put like salt on it, it was a dumpster fire. So I kept thinking there has got to be an easier way. And behold, pastry bag. It's the answer to all of our prayers. Now I just pipe the chocolate roughly the size of the cookie onto a baking sheet, and then push my cookie down on top. No mess, and a perfectly smooth bottom. No piping bag, no problem. You are gonna use a sealable plastic bag, but grab your tallest drinking cup. I'm gonna invert the bag. Now I have 2 hands free to transfer my melted chocolate. Now the coolest part about this recipe is that the melted chocolate is just option number 1. I have done this with every color of candy melt and every variety of chocolate imaginable. I've got red, orange, yellow, like the rainbow of candy melts, which just take the place of the chocolate. I've also done this with white chocolate. I did it for Valentine's Day with white chocolate, with red sprinkles on top. They look so good. So you can really get creative in terms of what the bottom coating on the cookies is. Now I'm gonna bring up my bag, twist the top, quick snip. Now I'm gonna pipe slightly smaller than the size of the cookie. So figure if this is the cookie we're pressing down on top, I'm gonna pipe roughly 3/4 the size of the cookie so that I have a little bit of room to push down. And this is gonna harden quickly, so grab your cookie and press it right in the center with even pressure. And I'm pushing just until I can see the start of the chocolate coming out the sides. To add one more layer of fun to these, I'm gonna add sprinkles to a baking dish like this. You could also use a shallow pan, and then pipe the chocolate right on top of the sprinkles and push the mini-sized version of my cookies right on top. I'm piping a few at a time and then adding the cookies right away. It is a fair amount of chocolate, so it's not gonna set so quickly, but this isn't one of those things where you wanna pipe like 20 of them and then try and go back and put the cookies on top. I've done that, and the chocolate hardens. So learn from my mistake, pipe a few, add a few of the cookies, and then just keep going with that process. This is so satisfying. And then the cookies are gonna dry and harden right on the sprinkles, and we'll just be able to pop them right off. It'll take about 5 minutes for this chocolate to harden, but if you're in a really humid environment, which I've done these before in, it can tend to take 10 to 15 minutes. You can always pop them in the fridge, and then that helps the chocolate set much more quickly. It's time for the moment of truth. We're gonna flip our cookies over now that the chocolate is hardened to reveal the perfectly smooth. I'm speechless. It's like a mirror. It is so insanely smooth. And even if the chocolate didn't make it all the way out to the edge, they still look amazing. Now that cookie right there, that is a complete showstopper. If you ask me, taste, texture, visual appeal, it's checking every box. Now let's do the sprinkled ones. This very quickly has become my signature cookie because once you nail this technique, the taste, the texture, the presentation, it's got it all. This really is an incredibly versatile dough and just concept in general. I love a good cookie template. Now, let's get that snap. Look at how soft that cookie is. Soft, tender cookie, iconic, Dairy Queen-esque, dare I say, snap. That is a signature cookie right there. Oh my God. So now I need to know, would you choose chipless over chips? Weigh in below. Aerate your flour. Is it that direction? Which direction is it? It's that way? Hey, either way, we go left to right, right to left. Aerate your flour.